Everyone, this is Wadria and I am back with another video. I thank you guys so much who have been watching my videos, who've subscribed to my channel. As you know, I started doing these videos last year, and my whole intention of doing these videos is to share my experiences as an entrepreneur, as someone who enjoys having multiple streams of income. So I've been posting about my thrifting adventures as well as my experience as an Airbnb host. In this particular video, I'm going to be sharing sort of the pros and cons of listing a property on Airbnb versus the traditional way of renting, right? I bought my house last July, and it was a very important milestone in my life. I knew that when I bought a house, I was doing it for the purpose of creating an additional stream of income. My intention was to rent it out, the traditional way, but I have always known about Airbnbs. I have stayed at Airbnb properties, and a friend of mine, actually my boyfriend, he does Airbnb, and he's the one that inspired me to give it a shot. So I listed my property on Airbnb in October of last year. So I've been a host now for about 4 months, and if you check out my most recent video before this one, you'll see an update as to what my experience has been like so far as a host. But in this video, I want to break down the differences between doing Airbnb versus renting. Just like anything else, there are two sides to a coin, right? So the great thing about doing Airbnb as far as listing your property is I like the ability to basically, you're having like an uncapped income stream, right? With Airbnb, you can decide when you want to make your property available, and you determine what the price is. Now, the price is determined as well on what the market is. So in your particular area, look at the other Airbnbs that have a similar makeup, whether you have a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, a whole house. You can kind of look at the comps and get an idea as to what your rate might be. So that's what I like about it. I like that, you have basically the ability to make more money as opposed to renting it the traditional way. That is one of the things that I kind of wanted to test out. Is I know that I could get a certain amount of money renting out my 3-bedroom apartment, but I wanted to see if I could make more doing Airbnb. So for me, that is definitely one of the pros, of doing Airbnb, is that you have the ability to make more money. All right, so one of the pros about renting is when you're renting, you don't have to clean the property. You're not thinking about furnishing it because, that's what the renter is going to do, right? So when you're doing Airbnb, you have to decorate your property, and I've done a video on how I decorated my Airbnb for under $500, so check that out. So when you're doing Airbnb, you have to furnish the entire apartment or house that you're renting out, or room, whatever the space is. You have to provide and make sure that it has all of the amenities that a guest is gonna, need to be comfortable. You also have to take care of housekeeping. Now, whether or not you're gonna outsource your housekeeping to, a maid service, or you're gonna do it yourself, you have to do like they do in the hotels. When you check out, you have the housekeepers going through the hallway, knocking on doors. You're doing that for your own property or for your own listing on Airbnb. When you're renting, you don't have to think about, cleaning. That's up to your tenant, and hopefully they're cleaning, but you don't have to worry about cleaning when you're renting. That's all up to the tenant. Another thing with Airbnb is you're paying the rent if you're renting out a listing, or you're paying the mortgage if it's your own property. When you're renting, your tenant is paying their rent, they're paying their utilities, and you're just going about your merry way. But when you're doing Airbnb, you're taking care of all those bills, the internet bill, the utilities, the mortgage. Thankfully, in my situation, this is how I think people do this because they actually want to be profitable, right? So in my case, my Airbnb takes care of my mortgage and my utilities, which is awesome. All right. But you do have to turn over, the property or the listing yourself. Another thing that I really enjoy about Airbnb is the hospitality aspect of it. When you're renting, all you're doing as a landlord, or a property manager, is you're basically responding to your tenants' calls whenever maybe the toilet is broken, broken or there's something that needs to be addressed as far as the foundation of the property. But all the other things, your tenant is pretty much taken care of. When you're doing Airbnb, you are, hospitality management, and to a degree, you are customer service, because you're making sure that, there's a check-in process for your guests. You want to make sure that it's seamless so that when guests check into your property, whether you have a lock key or a security keypad, they need to be able to access, the property, seamlessly. You also have to make things, nice for them. You are not a hotel, but you do want people to feel very comfortable. So you have to have the right toiletries. You have to have the right bedding. Those little details. You want to have some refreshments, maybe some coffee or some water. So Airbnb and renting definitely has its pros and cons, its advantages, and in some areas a disadvantage, because one thing with Airbnb is, as a host, you want to be a super host. And a super host is where you have a 4.8 rating or above. And how you get your rating is from your guests leaving you reviews. And I will tell you this, as a host who really takes pride in giving an amazing 5-star experience, you cannot please everyone. So you have to be prepared as a host on Airbnb, to receive some, at times, not so, good feedback from guests, or just not what you would expect based on what kind of service, you're providing. So you have to be a great host, but you also have to be, open and receptive to the idea that not all guests are going to love, everything that you're doing. Some guests will have some feedback. Some guests are definitely, harder to please than others. But overall, I certainly would say give Airbnb a shot. Not only does it allow you to make an additional stream of income, but it also allows you to utilize your space or your house or your apartment in a way that you might not have thought. It's great being able to not only have an additional stream of income, but it's great if you can have a stream of income that takes care of your mortgage or your rent, or takes care of a bill, or whatever the case might be. As far as renting goes, I am not opposed to renting. I'm 4 months into being an Airbnb host, and I want to give this more time to really get an assessment as to, whether or not I would continue to do Airbnb or give renting a shot. So far, I really do enjoy Airbnb. Another plus that I'll mention about Airbnb is that you get to block out the dates that you may not want to list your Airbnb or make it bookable for potential guests. In my case, I love to entertain. I love to have events at my house, and I'm in my apartment right now, but the Airbnb, I'm able to block dates out whenever I want to entertain, or whether I'm having guests coming into town, or whether or not I just want to use it for some kind of reason. I like that about Airbnb. When you're renting out your property or your apartment, whatever it is, you pretty much, you're not really, you don't have access to it, in the same way that you would if you're doing like short-term rentals like Airbnb. So again, you decide for yourself, what is best for you. Again, I do encourage you seeing what you can do with Airbnb, especially profitability wise. I definitely, just with having not even 20-30% bookings, which again, you want to optimize your bookings, right? You want to be more booked than not. But in my case, just with a handful of bookings, like maybe 2 or 3 2-night stays, and not only am I paying my mortgage, but I'm paying my utilities as well. So it's certainly worth giving a shot if you are open to being hospitable, if you're definitely open to having to clean, or you're open to having someone else do that for you. Airbnb, I wouldn't say it's for everyone, but it does provide the opportunity for persons who are willing to be great hosts and go that extra mile for their guests to have an amazing experience. It could be very worthwhile for you. So I'm going to keep sharing these videos. I'm going to keep sharing, my experience as a host, what I'm learning, what are some drawbacks, just the whole nine, because I really do believe in sharing. Whatever is working for me, I am a true believer in sharing it with you all, because you never know, this might inspire one of you to give it a shot. And if it does that, great. If you got something from this video, please do share, hit the like button. I enjoy doing this, and I only want to add some value to your life and to what you have going on already. So have a great rest of the week, and I'll be seeing you very soon for my next video.